So we're very lucky today. We're joined by Dr. Gashute and Dr. Anzola. And also we have two current students, Fiona and Daniela, who are going to speak about their experience being a student. It's always good to hear it directly from the people that are doing what you plan to do next year. I'll hand you over to Dr. Gashute, whose name I hope I'm saying correctly.
Thanks very much. You're very welcome to this webinar. I'm Egli Gashute. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies in the School of Sociology. So what I'll do is I'll give you kind of a general overview of the programs that we offer. And we have two great students who will give you more of a kind of student perspective, and my colleague David Anzola, who will talk about a specific program that he directs. Okay, so as some of you might be already familiar with this, and as Glenn was saying, maybe some of you already have offers, or maybe some of you are thinking of what master programs to pursue. So in the School of Sociology, we have five master's programs: MSc in Sociology, MA in Sociology, MSc in Sustainable Societies, MSc in Comparative Social Change, and MSc Social Data Science. And later in these slides, I will talk to you a little bit about each, how they're different. Um, Sorry, just there we go. But before we get there, why would you decide to study sociology at UCD? Well, several reasons. Firstly, sociology at UCD is the largest and one of the top-ranked centres for study of sociology, study of societal problems, and offers a really diverse and various approaches to studying various societal issues that we face. Secondly, the faculty that we have in the school is really strong in terms of research and teaching. So several of our colleagues have won awards for their teaching. Lots of people work on lots of different research funded projects, which are really interesting. So really top faculty that you can expect to find if you decide to do your master's with us. But also, I think another real strength of our school is that we have real diversity in our staff in relation to teaching and research. So a lot of our teaching is research led, which is based on the research interest of the staff that teach the specific modules. And we really cover I would say probably the widest range of sociology modules and sociology areas in Ireland. So everything from inequality, environment, gender, health, AI, and then various different methodological approaches as well in studying those issues. Um, we also have a really vibrant and inclusive academic environment. So it's a really nice school. We have a lot of research seminars and lots of different events that students are welcome to join. And it's a really collegial and friendly environment. And students generally have a very good experience. Um, as I already mentioned, we have a lot of diversity in terms of the different research interests that the staff have, and that really allows you to develop your own interests. So this really comes when you're conducting research for your dissertations, for example. You will be working closely with your supervisor, who will have expertise in a specific area that you're interested in, but it will really allow you to develop your own interest in terms of whether you just want to carry out some research on that topic, or perhaps pursue that research further if you decide to, for example, pursue a PhD later on. And finally, finishing the finishing the master's in the School of Sociology will really equip you with the background context that you need to address various societal issues, but more importantly, the skills that you need, such as qualitative research skills, quantitative research skills, data analysis skills, critical thinking, to analyze data, to understand societal issues, and these are really valued in the labour market across different sectors. So moving on to some of our graduate programs. So firstly, I thought I'll introduce two of our more general master's programs. So one is the MSc in Sociology and the other one is MA in Sociology. And I would say these are particularly suited to students who really like sociology, but perhaps don't have a specific focus that they would like to focus on, or maybe don't know the area or a specialized area that they would like to focus on. And the main difference between these is that the MSc Sociology is a more quantitative approach, the MA Sociology is a more qualitative approach. And their core modules really focus on research methodology. So if you are more thinking, for example, if you like using quantitative methodology, the MSc Sociology be for you. If you're more interested in qualitative approaches, MA Sociology be for you, and you'd be taking research methods, dissertation as a kind of your core modules. And then you have a whole range of modules to choose from, and I'll talk a little bit about these later on in this webinar. to choose from, which really allows you to tailor this to kind of the area that you're more interested in, whether that might be migration, inequality, AI, and so on. And if you have specific questions about any of these programs, I'm very happy to answer any questions later on as well. Um, and then we have three specific masters, which kind of more have a specific focus. So MSc Sustainable Societies, that's our newest master's program, which really looks at addressing lots of societal issues, but from a sustainability perspective. So this master's looks at addressing inequality, addressing environmental crises, and health, and but taking kind of that sustainability perspective at its core. It really focuses as well on this model which combines policy, activism, academia, and business. So trying to kind of look at different dimensions of sustainability. And I suppose it's if you're kind of interested, I suppose, in any area of sustainability, environment, that probably be the masters maybe to look up in terms of more information. The MSc Comparative Social Change is quite a unique program as well that we have. So this is a joint master's program with Trinity College Dublin, and it's really mostly aimed at students who are particularly interested in social change, but from a comparative perspective. And there's a really strong international focus. So the comparative looks at the global south and the global north, and also if you're interested in pursuing a master's into institutions. So if you're interested in this program, you would be taking half of your modules with us in UCD and half of your modules at Trinity College Dublin. And again, it's a very popular program as well. And then we have a really popular program, MSc Social Data Science. And my colleague David, I couldn't do justice. He'll talk to you more about this program. I'm sorry, lost my earpod. He'll talk to you a bit more detail, but it's our data analytics, computation, social science program that is really popular. Um, so all of these different, I suppose, master's programs have a few core modules, but then there are some optional modules that you can choose from as well. So for example, these are just I just selected a few that are particularly popular, but there's a lot more as well. So we've got migration and AI and society, which is a core module for the data and social data science, but also an optional module available to others as well. Environment, religion, queer theory and alternative futures, critical race and decolonial theory. Rage is a really popular module. It's on remembrance, activism, genocide and emotions, and organized violence and society. There's also modules on inequality, sustainability, a lot of research methods modules, and a lot more modules with data and analysis and simulation as well. And again, if you have any specific questions, I'm very happy to answer these later on. And I suppose one common question that students often have relates to career outcomes. So, what would you do if you have a master's in sociology? And our students have really ended up in a wide range of sectors. And I think that's kind of the beauty of a sociology degree, is that it allows you to really you could go into any area because you really have these core skills of understanding a variety of societal issues. You have the skills to analyze those issues, to critically think about them. So research is obviously an obvious avenue. A lot of our students have ended up in research institutes here in Ireland and abroad. Um, Also media, journalism, public relations. A lot of people are interested in activism, so NGOs, humanitarian organizations. A lot of people have gone to pursue further studies in academia, so mostly in conducting PhDs with us and also in other institutions. Also public sector as well. So this would be the civil service, but also any other organizations in the public sector. Data analysts, particularly I suppose from the social data analytics. So Google, any kind of tech companies, but also smaller businesses as well. Um, some students have gone into consulting, so set up their own consulting companies, but also working for consulting companies, particularly again when it comes to data analysis, interpretation, and critical analysis of various issues, as well as the health services. And this is not I suppose, definitive list, but these are just kind of quite commonly avenues that people have explored. Just put up a slide. This is our website. So any information that you're looking for as well would be on our website. This is actually a photo of our faculty and PhD students at a writing retreat. Um, again, this is just an example of some of the kind of events and the kind of collegiate environment that we have in the school. And I put up the website as well, where you can find more information. And there's also sociology at ucd.ie. So that's a general email address. But if you don't know, for example, who to contact, if you send an email to this address, your query will be forwarded to the relevant person, whether that's to myself or David or another program director, or someone who can answer your query. Thanks very much. And I'll pass you, stop sharing my slides. Apologies about this. And I'll pass you on to my colleague, Dr. David Anzola, who is the program director for computational social science.
Uh, so as mentioned, I'm the program coordinator for social data science. Um, so the idea of social data science is to use different computational methods to address new and old social science problems, especially taking advantage of the volume of information and the type of information that is collected with different digital technologies, but also to understand what those changes or those technologies, the changes those technologies are having in society. So the program in general has the four core modules: AI and society, social simulation, research design, and social networks. Is very applied to the social science. It's methods that are popular in the social sciences. So for example, simulation and networks. One thing that you'll see with social data science, computational social science, social data analytics, there are similar names for similar things, is that sometimes it's just maths, like advanced statistics. But in this case, what we do in the program is really focus on what you can do as a social scientist with different computational methods, with different computational tools. And as an option, you'll see that you'll have a large list of modules in mathematics, in computer science, in information science, and naturally in social science. An advantage of the program is that you can really tailor the curriculum in a way that fits to you. We do have some modules that we offer in the School of Sociology, but you will see, for example, some of the modules in computer science are offered by the School of Computer Science. We have modules even from some other schools in social science, like politics, economics. So it's really a wide range of alternatives that basically fit whatever interests you have. Some popular option modules. So in general, there is not really a pathway that the students have. I was actually going through like the option modules that the students select, and it's very interesting because you can see how, for example, the previous expertise or their professional interest is going to have an impact on the modules they select. In general, what you see is that people have preference for programming languages. So they'll go for data science in Python, machine learning with Python, data programming with R. So there's always this popularity with these modules that have some kind of definitely programming language component. And naturally, there will be some differences. So for example, data science in Python and machine learning with Python have different levels of mathematics involved. Then you have a list of different computational methods that, again, people choose depending on their interest or their expertise. So, for example, quantitative text analysis, uh, geographic information systems, Monte Carlo inferences are all these different computational methods that you can use in a specific context and with particular types of data. There are some modules that are more centered on what we do with data, how we collect data, how we clean data, how we use it in different methods like information visualization, applied data wrangling and visualization. One thing that is important here is that you'll see some overlap with different modules. So for example, information visualization and data wrangling and visualization had that visualization overlap. So it's important for you to consider what is your interest. Like if it's mainly visualization, you already have some knowledge about data cleaning or data wrangling, then you go for the first one. If you just want to start, like go from the start, then you choose the second one. And then something that is interesting is that, yes, it is a program with this computational focus, but many of our students actually take modules in sociology because, as Egli mentioned, we do have this competence here. It's very strong and very diverse. And you have many students, for example, doing their dissertations with one of the modules that they take in sociology more than whatever they do with computational methods. In terms of what this or the type of audience that the master is targeting, we have like this kind of two big groups. The first one is students with a background in the social sciences, art and humanities, business, psychology, these kind of disciplines that are more like social. And then, and they have an interest in data science or computational methods. And then on the other hand, students with a background in formal disciplines, mathematics, computer science, engineering, with an interest in social science. Something that is important about the program is it is offered by the School of Sociology. It is first and foremost a social science program. So, for example, if you have a background in computer science and you already have some knowledge of, I don't know, AI, you have already worked with AI, it's very unlikely that the modules we offer will actually allow you to develop expertise and further mastery in social in AI. So the point of the program is how we do this in the social science, and we recognize naturally that the main focus here is social sciences, problems, for example, with data, problems, for example, with the type of variables that we use in social science, rather than the technical skill proper. So why choose this course? Like as I mentioned, because it's offered by the School of Sociology, and you will see that a lot of the problems in social science are not necessarily about having the technical skill or the technical expertise. It's more about how you go about the problem. So, for example, I don't know, think about dynamics like crime. We don't have enough data about crime. The data is not reliable. So it's not a matter like, oh, I'm just going to use this method. It's like, okay, how do you use it? Like, is the data biased? Is the method appropriate for the data that you have? So these are the kind of problems that you can answer better as a social scientist than as a, I don't know, computer scientist. Then, as Egli mentioned, the research strength at the school, the college, and the university. One interesting thing is that social data science is a program in the School of Sociology, but you will see similar programs and different staff members in different schools have this competence. So, for example, quantitative text analysis is offered by the School of Politics. GIS is offered by the School of Geography. The School of Economics have a couple other modules. So we pull from those different resources to actually make this program work for us. And then, as I mentioned, this curriculum flexibility in terms of all the different modules that you can take. And one important one is you have two different pathways. You can do a dissertation or you can do an internship. And then depending on your professional interests, you might prefer one or the other. In terms of career opportunities, they're definitely growing and they're very diverse. So just think of all the data intensive companies in the private, the public, and the third sector. And when you think about we are just collecting more and more data, we have different stakeholders that can benefit from this data. We have this interest in actually making decisions based on data in, again, these different sectors and the different kind of problems that we have. So when you think typical problem, or there are very problems in contemporary society that are local. Like think about migration, that's a global dynamic. Crime is a global dynamic. Finance is a global dynamic. The most important things, environment is a global dynamic. So these kind of problems require these data-intensive solutions. And naturally, as Egli said, we also have very few or some students that go into doing a PhD or actually conducting research in academia. These are some of the companies that our graduates have joined, but actually going through the list. So these are some that are very easy to recognize. But I was going to the list and they do all kind of things. And an important thing here is that sure, data scientist or data analyst is the position that what most people think of, and is the like the tech companies are the kind of companies that most people will think of. But again, like because of the data that is collected right now, you'll see people working in very random topics, in small, medium enterprises, in Ireland and abroad as well. So there's one thing that I like to mention sometimes that people don't realize the scope of social data science. Because I'm the program coordinator, sometimes I get offers that I forward to students. I got one from Sports Ireland. And sports is not necessarily the topic that you will think as a career option. But when you think about it, like, sure, we're collecting so much data because of sensors, because we are now like analyzing all the different games and stuff, stats are like different players. So yeah, they are collecting so much data. And naturally, the Sports Ireland didn't have anyone with this competence in data science. So they just wrote to me, say like, hey, we need someone. And again, sports is not necessarily the thing that you will think about. So and you'll see here are companies in the public sector, the private sector, and there are a couple as well in the third sector. So that's it for me, and I would like to hand it over now to Fiona. She's actually one of our social data students this year.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Fiona. Um, I'm currently a student on the Masters in Social Data Science program. A little bit about my background and why I chose the course. My previous qualifications is in sociology and social policy, which I completed a few years back. And then after graduation, I got a job at a research agency where I still currently work today. Over the past few years, I'd say AI has really impacted and reshaped the research processes in my job. And the skill set needed to do the job has broadened past just traditional quant and qual methodologies. So I decided to undertake this master's to expand my technical skills. I've always also wanted to do a PhD, so that's something I'm considering after graduation. Um, there were a few reasons why I chose to study at UCD, particularly. I researched a lot of different programs initially, but I ultimately chose UCD because it was the best balance between learning technical data skills coupled with sociological thinking. So my goal is to apply the data science skills to social issues, policy development, public sector challenges, etc. So the interdisciplinary nature of the course was perfect, and I found it was missing in a lot of other programs I looked into. The flexibility offered on the program was also a huge advantage. I'm currently studying part-time while working, and the option to undertake an internship or thesis, I think, is also great because you can choose the one most suited to your career goals. I personally haven't decided on this yet. If I decide on the PhD route, I'll do the thesis. But if I decide to stay in industry and possibly change career paths, I'll look for a suitable internship. So I'll be doing that next year. The other deciding factor was I really loved the UCD campus, just the nature, the libraries, cafes, gym, cinema. It's like amazing. So thinking about spending time studying and socializing there was really appealing to me. Um, so at the minute now, I'm almost finished year one of the program, and I've enjoyed it so much. The modules I've taken has been so interesting. The academic staff are really supportive. For example, I took a module last semester and I found it really complex, but the module coordinator encouraged us all to book in for office hours with any queries and to like discuss our project ideas. And I ended up achieving an A on that module. So I just think that's a real testament of the teaching, the quality of teaching and support that you receive here. I also have really great peers in the course, and we have a WhatsApp group for support and meeting up and stuff. So it's really nice. So my plans for after graduation is to either pursue a PhD or keep working as a researcher in the public or private sector, but maybe segue to a more technical role. I'm also interested in freelancing in data journalism. So no matter what route I take, I feel like the skills I'm learning on the program will give me a grounding for all of these pathways. So they're all open to me. And my advice, I think, for prospective students considering like any of these programs would be to have a real look at all of the available modules on the course and think about ones you'd like to take based on your interests and your career goals, because that was something that really helped me when I was deciding.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Fiona. That was great to hear about your experience so far. And also the reality. I always hear how supportive the school is, but to hear how you got that support and that challenging module and ended up getting an A, but putting it real life experience, how supportive
Yeah,
the school is. So it's great. Thanks so much. So we're going to hear
thank
from
you.
Daniela now, Daniela, are you doing
Yeah.
the MA in sociology, is it? Or the MSc?
No, it's an MSc, but finally I am doing a dissertation with qualitative methods. But as a sociologist, I consider that we have to know both methods, so statistics and also qualitative. So I don't regret about that. The only difference is just one module, which is statistics. And then you have selective modules. Just to tell a little bit about myself, I made a decision to join UCD about 2 years ago when I was working in EY, which is one of the big four companies. So I visited UCD for a career fair where my role was to promote the company and attract students, but it worked the other way around because UCD attracted me. So when my contract ended, I decided to pursue the master in sociology because I knew from firsthand that UCD is one of the top university in Ireland, and employers value UCD graduates. And I was also drawn by its international reputation. And specifically, I chose sociology because the program is offered part-time, and which made it possible to balance my studies with other commitments. And as well, from the very beginning, I noticed that UCD is very inclusive with adults from different backgrounds. I studied sociology a long time ago, but I wasn't sure which postgraduate program to take. Because time is precious, rather than hesitate, I chose to return to my core discipline, but in a different setting, like an international one and in English, of course. Looking back, it was one of the best decisions I made. Sociology allows us to think critically and to imagine alternative futures, which are crucial skills in today's world. So this is why it's so important to me. And what I enjoyed most is really everything. For example, the course content is highly interesting, focused on current debates or topics which were new to me. The readings are very up to date. So I really enjoyed reading papers and articles recently published from all over the world, like from different authors. And the teaching staff are outstanding. All of them are great and approachable, and I felt very welcome every time I needed advice or support. So they were open, flexible, and they encouraged me a lot and supported me a lot with my dissertation process. I'm currently writing up my dissertation, as I mentioned, using qualitative methods. I chose this option because I hadn't completed a dissertation during my previous degree. So I really wanted to conduct my own research. And I think that is the key, that we are doing our own project or study, which is very challenging. And for getting organized, I use the library and the writing center. And these are excellent resources. And they help me improve my academic performance or even feeling more confident with my assignments. So you can book a one-to-one appointment, and there are PhD or professors there helping you with academic writing. And I also attended workshops last year during the summer semester, for example, about literature review, about critical analysis, and so on. And my advice is don't hesitate and go for it. For me, this has been a rewarding experience. So I would definitely encourage you to take this opportunity, and wish you all the best. And thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Daniela. It's lovely to hear your great experience and those supports that you're engaging with that are
Yes.
fantastic. And we really do encourage all our students to use them. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the careers network in UCD. And I would encourage anybody, if you do have questions, keep popping them in the Q&A box. After this, we will do the Q&A section and it'll be an opportunity to get answers to all your questions. So I just have a few things to really run through here. I just really want to highlight the great support that there is in UCD. So of course, some of you might be Irish, some of you in the EU, some of you non-EU countries. No matter where you are or what stage in your life or your career, doing a master's, it's a real investment in your time and financially. So you want to be comfortable about really the return on that investment after graduation. So for those non-EU students, I'll just touch on that quickly. Working in Ireland, so as a non-EU graduate, you have a stay-back visa, and that's for 24 months. So that means after you graduate, you can legally work for 2 years. Now, what often happens is an employer will then sponsor you to stay on past that 2 years, and hopefully if you want to remain in Ireland. And it's just good to know that in order to apply for permanent residency in Ireland, you need to be living and working here for 5 years. So that stay back visa after you graduate, that counts towards the 5 years to apply for permanent residency. For everybody, UCD is ranked #1 for employability in Ireland, and it's, in the top 100 in the world. There's about 50,000 universities worldwide, so to be in the top 100 is pretty impressive. And you can really see, how our panelists spoke about the programs, that flexibility, how things are arranged, that, it really is set up for you, whether you want to go on to research or you want a career. The programs are set up to really, support that. The unemployment rate in Ireland is 4.6%, so that's good news if you do want to, stay in Ireland and work here. The average European rate, just for comparison, is 5.1%. So it just shows, you're in a good position. A lot of you might be sick of hearing, Ireland or Dublin is the Silicon Valley of Europe, etc., etc. But in reality, Ireland is home to many multinationals in tech, pharma, medtech, AI, and financial services. And whether you want to work in one of them, some of the jobs mentioned previously, or in some of maybe these tech companies, but this also, it creates an environment for successful SMEs as well. So there's more opportunity there. And there really is a trickle-down effect from all these big multinationals across lots of different sectors for employment opportunities. And there is just a start of a list of some of the multinationals based here in Ireland. It would fill slides and slides and slides if I listed them all. So just to reiterate, there is a lot of opportunity. UCD is, really proud of the careers network. It is, another reason why we rank so high for employability. So the UCD Careers Network, I would encourage all of you to connect with them when you start and kind of avail of the services that, you might need or really align with what your goals are. There's recruitment fairs, there's CV 360 and Interview 360. So that's advice on both of them. No matter what stage you're at your career, how many interviews you've done, we could all do with a little bit of expert advice on those. There's the jobs platform, there's career development modules and seminars, there's even one-to-one appointments as well, so you can chat through a specific role that you're looking at. There's alumni career panel events, it's an opportunity to network as well. There's skills workshops and careers workshops as well. So as I said, connect with them, even just follow them on their social media when you join UCD, because really there's so much there to help you in your career and your next step after graduation. For those non-EU students, again, we have a program called Jumpstart, and this is really specifically actually for all international students, not just non-EU. It's, to understand the employment and the career market in Ireland and kind of just, getting to grips with that and how it all works and developing the skills that Irish employers might be looking for or how the interview process might work here, things like that. So it's another great program. So I would encourage you to, loop in with that, scan the QR code and engage with that as well. And then just finally, I know that our panelists have spoken about a lot of the roles that recent graduates have gone on to, but just really reiterating that across so many different sectors, from media, education, the public sector, research, lots of people in think tanks and government policy development. And then David mentioned some of those private sector companies as well, like Accenture, and there's Central Statistics Office, Deloitte, PwC, Bank of Ireland. So lots of opportunities there. So I will stop sharing, and then what we'll do now is we will move on to our Q&A. So the first one I'll do, I have all your questions that you submitted, so we'll go through them. But the first one is from the Q&A box here, and it's probably more for David. So is it advised or required to have some basic technical knowledge in Python, for example, to join the MSc in social data science?
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's a bit of a tricky one because it really depends on your background. So I think what is important for you is to be aware that the program does have this computational component that for especially people in the social sciences might not be very straightforward. So we strongly advise students to be mindful of their mathematical competence and their computational competence if they exist. If not, then you can still just go online, do a certificate, just try it yourself. You don't need to have like micro credentials or something, but it is important for you to know you will face computer programming, and it is not for everyone. Like you will know if you're good at computational thinking and algorithmic thinking until you try it. Like we do have modules that like address for people that are just starting with these skills, but if you're not really good at it, you're going to struggle. So we don't want that. So again, if you are not sure, just try, go online, YouTube stuff, do some stuff, see if algorithmic thinking, computational thinking is actually something that you could work on without much struggle.
Great. And another question that probably aligns to that is, do people need a very high spec laptop for this course?
No. So some of the things that we'll be working with, like the methods that you'll be working with, like simulation, quantitative text analysis, like you can do that in a normal laptop. One of the important things is like the university has a program where students can go to the library and get some laptops and work on that. Like the advantage as well is that many of these software are um, free. So you can just install it, work with them. So there is ways around it. But yeah, nothing we do is super intensive that you will need a high spec computer.
Great. And another question is there an opportunity to attend conferences, or do guest speakers come in and speak to students?
We do have plenty of things. So I mean, conferences are a bit different on depending on the sense of conference. So if it's an academic conference, that these are required registration fees and stuff like that. But for example, this summer we're having a really big international sociology conference in Ireland. So if someone is here during the summer, they could just attend that. So those ones again can get a bit tricky because of the registration fee. But what students see is that we constantly have speakers at the School of Sociology, but pretty much every school brings some speakers. And again, for example, in social data science, if you have interest in digital technologies in general, we have people in geography working in that, in information and communication studies, in politics. So a lot of those speakers will actually be very relevant. We also have the Geary Institute for uh, Public Policy. And again, like some of the speakers they're bringing are very relevant to the different masters in sociology. So we have plenty of spaces at UCD and the School of Sociology, the College of Social Science and Law that students can actually benefit from attending.
Great. And maybe did either of our current students, have you attended any guest speakers or conferences or anything yet?
I just got an email like yesterday about the Conference of Europeanists, I think, coming up in UCD. So I've applied to volunteer at that, and then if you're taken as a volunteer, you get free entry. So you get kind of opportunities like that as a student emailed to you.
So we have another question here just about the comparative program, and maybe Egle, you'll be able to answer this. What does the joint course across Trinity and UCD look like practically? Are we based at UCD and then go to Trinity for specific modules, and will we have access to Trinity's resources like the library? And can we do our dissertation with researchers at either university?
Thanks. Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So actually, I think the beauty of that program is that you're actually registered as a student in both institutions, and so that means you'd have same access to both Trinity and UCD. And the way it's designed is that there is one or two core modules that you take in UCD, one or two core modules you take in Trinity, and then you're free to choose modules from the Trinity offering and the UCD offering. And they are structured in a way generally that are, I suppose, the kind of the way they're structured is that specific modules take place, say on specific days you might be in Trinity and specific days to be in UCD. That's just to more practically speaking, you wouldn't have time to get from one to the other if it was on the same day. But there is a lot of choice there. You absolutely have access to all the resources in both the library and the staff as well, all the events. So you're a registered student in both institutions. And in terms of your dissertation, what will happen is you put in a short research proposal, what you'd like to do, and you get to nominate or basically your preferred supervisor. Now that isn't always possible, but generally we try to as much as possible to accommodate students and based on their based on their expertise. But you could be equally supervised by a supervisor in UCD or Trinity, and that really will more depend on, I suppose, your research interest and what you'd like to pursue. But if you're interested in that program, it is a really successful program. There's a lot of international students that attend that as well. So I think students have really great experience meeting peers from lots of different places. And if you have any follow-up questions, do get in touch. But yes, Sam, sorry, long long answer for a short question in the sense that you're fully a student in both.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's a great program, and you're not too far away from Trinity, probably about 15 minutes on the bus, maybe 20. So both are very, very accessible. And we have another question here just about opportunities for research. Is there, any opportunity to work on research that you could get published in journals, or is there support from staff to help with that? What does that look like for a master's student?
So I think I can answer that. I know, David, if you also have maybe from your program. So generally, yes. So we actually have a student magazine that is coordinated by one of our colleagues. So students publish in that. That's kind of a student-led, student-run, but that's a great outlet, particularly for master students. There would be opportunities to, for example, turn your dissertation into a journal or article, depending on the dissertation. Uh, but also to get involved in research as well. So, for example, sometimes students have worked as research assistants, when people have grants or they're looking for a research assistant, and those opportunities would come about, I suppose, depending on the research projects. But yes, absolutely, there'd be opportunities. You also would be free to apply for any opportunities in the university. So, for example, if let's say you might be in the School of Sociology, but maybe someone in School of Politics has gotten a research grant and they're looking for a research assistant. So those opportunities that would be available to you as well. But yes, there would be opportunities to do that. And I suppose my advice would be whether you do a master's with us or someone else, if you're particularly interested in the kind of research avenue, approach a faculty member that's kind of in your research area and just ask them, because sometimes there could be small opportunities that you might know about, but then if you actually approach the staff member, they'd be delighted, I'd say, to have an interested student to work on some research.
Great. And David, do you have anything to add to that, or we go on to the next question?
Yeah, no, just to clarify something, I don't know the context of that question because there are students or the applicants that have an interest in like this very formal research position that, for example, in comparison to the States, where there are a lot of research position available for master students, like it's not the same. Like we do have some, but it's not the same structure where you'll incorporate a lot of the master students into the faculty research. So yeah, there are opportunities, but it's not like in other countries where they just can bring them like the entire cohort into
Yeah.
research.
Yeah. Great. I think we probably have time for maybe two more questions. So another one here that you might be good for Fiona actually. What academic resources are available to students, like the library? Is it difficult to get books that you need for the course, or do you need to buy them? How does that work? I know we spoke about the computers available to people, but how about other resources for the course? Have you found that so far, Fiona?
So like initially when I did my first degree, I would mainly do research in the library, but now we have great subscriptions with all of the online articles and stuff. So we have one search through the UCD library, and it's like you can pretty much access like any research journal through that. So I find that invaluable. Um, and obviously, like the library has so many supports as well, and they have like courses to do, and there's like study skills and writing courses and stuff. So it's like anything you're having kind of issues with, there's support there.
Brilliant as well. And does anybody have anything else to add to that? I think that was very, very helpful and straightforward. Okay, so we'll try maybe one more question. There's quite a few questions here, so if we don't get to them, I'll include all the answers into the email that I send afterwards. Just one about, we'll see here. So Dublin is being the tech hub, as you said, but could you give some names of other organizations and specific sustainable development agencies like CSOs or NGOs or think tanks where the MSc in Sustainable Societies graduate could work after, and how would working in that sector go? So I know we don't have the program lead for that here, so I don't know if David and Eglė can answer that, but if not, I can speak to Marcia.
No, it's fine. We do have a strong like NGO and third sector. Like a lot of the big ones that you see worldwide, you'll have them here. And then you have a specific ones here that do different types of research. So they are available. There's actually a fair that UCD has that includes these different organizations, so you can get to know them. I don't have specific examples, but I know that it's available there.
Yeah, so there's a fair where they all come and you can
Yeah.
kind of make connections with them. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, that's it. That's all we have time for. So thank you so much to all our panel, and thank you for everybody that joined us today.